Hello everybody, my name's Ray, and as per the name of the channel, I love to read. Now, I was gonna take you through a bookshop tour, and I'd been planning to do this video for a while, but there's been a little bit of a hiccup in that my room and my bookshelves are in no state to be toured. You can't get to them for a start because there's books everywhere and there's books behind books and they're in no kind of discernible order. So I figured that's going to have to go on the back burner for a while, and instead I thought I'd take you through my Autumn TBR. Everyone on book social media is getting very, very excited about autumn. It's that time of year where it just feels like you should be reading a book. The air smells right for it. You want to stay inside, you want to get a fire going. We don't have a fire, but you know, we can pretend. You can get like a cozy YouTube screensaver or something. It's in that weather where you want to be reading a different sort of book. You're not going to be sitting on a beach anymore because it's cold. I have got prepared. I say I've got plans and I've got all these books laid out to potentially read, but I am such a mood reader that you just know that any plans I make are going to go completely out of the window because I'll just read what I want to. But I've got big stacks that are going to be on hand for me to pick from in various different genres that I think would suit the autumn well. So if you're playing along at home, if you've got a pen and paper with you, which of these books do you think fit the mood, and which do you reckon, yeah, Ray, you've got the wrong season there? And you know, feel free to let me know in the comments which of these books you've read, which ones you think are good, which ones I've missed, which books should I be definitely 100% getting on my list to read this autumn. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the kind of genres that I'm exploring here, just because obviously not all genres will be everybody's cup of tea. So in particular, we go into cozy fantasy, thrillers, horror, and obviously when I say horror, we're not talking kind of, you know, Saw level horror, or at least I hope we're not, because I'm very wimpy and I'm not all about the blood and guts. I don't mind a little bit of blood and guts, but you know, if it's going to be like the extreme side, I mean, any of you who watch my Brainworms video will know that it's not usually my jam. So where was I? Yeah, so cozy fantasy, thrillers, horror, dark academia, obviously all the autumnal vibes with that. What I'm reading already that I feel has an autumnal vibe to it, and a few kind of wild cards and literary books here and there that I think, you know, might suit the mood as well. Said that before? More ado to follow. There are a few books that don't really have anything to do with autumn that I kind of need to get underway with. I'm going to see a couple of authors speak in October, and I thought it's probably best to be finished with the books from the series that they're talking about, so that I've got, you know, a good primer. One of those authors is John Gwynne, who I will be going to see in London towards the end of the month. This is the series that I believe he's going to be discussing along with Tasha Suri and James Logan, who wrote a very good book, very good fantasy murder mystery romp that I read earlier this month. So I'm very excited to see the three of them, but I feel I need to have at least dabbled in John Gwynne before going to the event, which is only polite. And I've been told, although Malice is obviously a good starting point, these I've been told are excellent, and he will be discussing the third. So to avoid spoilers, the plan is to get underway with this series. Another author who I'm hopefully going to go and see speak is Susanna Clarke. I'd already had the pleasure of reading Piranesi, I'm not entirely sure how you say it, but that was a fantastic book. Loosely fantastical, but more literary than a straight up fantasy book. Now this one, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, we are celebrating the anniversary of, I believe it's the 20th anniversary, but it might be the 10th. Hold up. Well, it won a lot of prizes in 2004, so I guess it's 20 years. This is my other copy, by the way. Isn't it gorgeous? But this is the more easy to pick up and hold. And so far, I am loving this book. It is about a couple of magicians who would very much like to bring magic back to the UK. It having fizzled out a couple of hundred years before this book was set. Now Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is set in the early 1800s, so kind of Georgian times, and it's just fantastic so far. It's you know, set in a Victorian world where there used to be magic, and it's got all of those vibes. It's written a bit like Dickens would have written if Dickens was writing about magic. It's kind of in that style. So that is another book that I am underway with, and that is going to form a hefty part of my autumn reading. I need to find out what happens to Fitz. I need to find out what happens to Fitz in the fall, but it may have to wait. It may have to wait until later. But oh, I just savour these. These are fantastic. Okie dokie. Twiddling with the camera a bit. I'm still trying to work out the new tripod. I've only just discovered that it extends, so that was my technological advance of the day. The channel is always going to be improving, guys. Just bear with it. Anywho, this one is definitely giving me autumnal vibes. We have some literary fiction here. Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. My goodness, this book is bumming me out. It's beautifully written. It's about a lady whose wife goes away, gets stuck under the sea in a submarine for longer than anyone could have anticipated, and when she comes back she is not the same. And I'm only that far through. As you can see, I've got it's either the Forbidden Planet special edition or it's the indie edition, but it's beautiful, but it's not exactly filling me with joy. Not that it's Julia Armfield's job to fill me with joy, you know, but it's a mood. It's certainly a mood. That's where I'm up to with the autumnal reading so far. And before we start on categories, one that I'm definitely going to give an honourable mention to, which is literary fiction, we have a book called Autumn by Ali Smith. Now, Ali Smith is a kind of postmodern-y type literary fiction writer who writes books that don't follow the rules, but that have kind of ideas tossed around in there, and they're very experimental, and they're largely very, very good. You have to have a bit of a tolerance for the kind of unconventional grammar and structure and everything, but I've always found her reading very Moorish, very engaging, and I've heard that her season quartet, of which we start with Autumn, I've heard great things. So I don't think anyone's going to be telling me to take that off the autumn list because it's in the title. I understand they're quite political in the subjects that they discuss, and yeah, and it should be a nice quick read because I do find her quite easy to blast through. There's a lot of stream of consciousness and that sort of thing. Another autumnal offering that doesn't really fall into any of the genres that I read widely from, we have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and its follow-up, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. These are so cosy looking. Look at those covers. Even though I hardly ever read romance, I hardly ever read that sort of thing, I couldn't resist them because, I mean, it's got a little kitty in the doorway. Ugh. I feel my heart maybe warmed, and I'm not usually, like I say, I'm usually more the kind of Our Wives Under the Sea vibe, to be honest. But they can try to win me over with their romantic autumnal gorgeous covers. I've been told that by a lovely lady who was working in a pudding shop that I was in. She says that this is very like the Gilmore Girls. I have never watched the Gilmore Girls. I don't watch a lot of TV, to be honest, unless it's kind of, you know, Love Island. Let's just edit that bit out. But yeah, if you like the Gilmore Girls, apparently this is that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what I just said. Another one that I see coming up on Litsy certainly every year is Pumpkinheads, which is a graphic novel romance about two young people who are working the pumpkin patch together. I've heard it's cute and heartwarming and sweet. And if you look at that cover, I mean, hopefully my heart will be warmed. God, I feel like we need some horror now to kind of offset it. So what have I got in my horror pile? Zombies in IKEA? I have not read any Grady Hendrix yet, and I have heard great things. And this one is an unconventional size. It's kind of the size of a not IKEA. I'll stop saying IKEA. It's some other store. I picked this up. I mean, it just looks like it's going to be fun. Have any of you read it? What do you think? Is it one of his best? Is there the other ones that I should be looking at instead? I do have one, How to Buy a Haunted House or How to Sell a Haunted House. I've got that somewhere in the cupboard, but as per the disclaimer at the beginning of the video, the TBR situation is kind of a little bit out of hand at the moment. So whether I can locate these books, that's another matter. But I figure that sounds creepy. Let's give that one a go. Another author who I know is creepy because I've read one of her graphic offerings before is Emily Carroll. And Emily Carroll did a collection of short stories. I think it's called If You Go Down to the Woods, or this, A Guest in the House, is another of her graphic offerings. And again, we've got very, very stylish artwork. And Through the Trees, Through the Woods. I think it's called Through the Woods. And if you do ever pick up Through the Woods, I love it, but I mainly love it for one short story, and that is one called The Nesting Place. The Nesting Place got under my skin in all the right ways, so let's see if she manages to do it again. That is going to be a Halloween ready read. Speaking of horror movie. I still haven't read The Cabin at the End of the World, and I mean to. I understand they've made a film out of it, and I've had it on my TBR forever. And then they come out and bring out this very, very stylish version. I think this is the broken binding version, although I don't want to tell a lie. Yeah, broken binding version of horror movie. Although it looks like it's set in summer, so autumnal? Autumnal? You tell me. Next we have one I've been meaning to read for ages. Look at that cover. We have Cursed Bunny, which is translated from, I believe, from the Korean. Cursed Bunny is a collection of weird short stories that I've been meaning to read for ages, and perhaps my excitement is a little bit tinged by having read Bunny by Mona Awad. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with that, I'm sure it's completely different, but who doesn't love a creepy looking bunny on the front of a book? So yeah, what do you think of this one, guys? I've heard pretty much nothing but good things. I bought this one for the cover. I've heard that Eric LaRocca gets a bit extreme and sometimes maybe a little bit gratuitous. I believe that their debut, Things Have Gotten Worse Since we Last Spoke, has mixed reviews. Some people found it really edgy and awesome, others thought it was a bit OTT. Look at that cover though, that is marvellously creepy. I do love that kind of that kind of modern art kind of design, and it's nice and short, so I figured it might be a nice easy way to kind of delve into the writer. So yeah, let me know what you think of Eric LaRocca. Is he suitable for autumn, or should I be should we wait until the depths of winter before we try them? And finally, on my horror pile, although this one I think is horror adjacent, we have an Evernight. So Evernight is the Illumicrate quarterly subscription for horror. And we have The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. I love the cover, and it's got a really creepy haunted house on the back. It's got a saucy looking skeleton down the spreaders. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a mystery horror, and anything that's tinged with mystery automatically has my backing usually. So I'm hoping this is going to be good. I have high hopes for it. Probably going to be more kind of my jam when it comes to horror, rather than the straight up kind of, you know, splatterpunk, gore, body horror, eyeballs. Speaking of hybrid murder mysteries, like I say, I recently finished The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan, which was a fantastic murder mystery fantasy crossover. And I have a couple more on my list, one of which I've sort of started, and that's this one, Voyage of the Damned. Now, I've only read the first chapter, and so far I'm not clicking with it immediately, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be good. It was both a Goldsborough pick and an Illumicrate pick, and it's a nautical fantasy murder mystery, which sounds right up my street. I've read some great nautical mysteries, such as The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. That's a fantastic Georgian one. Obviously you've got your Agatha Christie kind of boat related mysteries, which are quite popular. I did read another boat mystery. I'll put the the name of it up because it was fantastic. So although I usually hate boat books, there have been some mysteries that have won me over. So let's see if this one can do the same. Finally, the very heftily recommended The Tainted Cup. Whether you've got the US version or the UK version, this is a beautiful cover. Look at that. And it's a fantasy murder mystery that has been highly recommended to me from across everywhere, really. So I'm really, really excited about this one, and I'm going to be prioritising it this autumn. But as I said, nothing's set in stone with my Autumn TBR, because I do tend to just pick up random books and read them, you know, without thinking about it. So, you know, we've not really got too much of a plan here. Ooh, I think I've turned the light off. Another autumnal hybrid genre is dark academia, and I've already explored some of the greats. So The Secret History by Donna Tartt is the quintessential dark academia, exclusive college, murder and mayhem, descent into madness. Well, not quite madness, but, you know, just general, everything falls apart, everything becomes chaos, everything, the vibes, the tension. It's beautiful and perfect. And if you haven't read The Secret History, that is a book that I would tell people to put on their bucket list. They don't have to read it right away, but they have to read it at some point because it is an experience. There are other kind of books that have kind of tried to emulate that kind of atmosphere, like If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. It was okay, but Secret History is still... There's loads of great dark academia books, and, you know, let's go on to a few that I should have read by now, but I haven't. Ninth House. Secret societies. Basically thinking kind of Secret History, but with more kind of magic. So Ninth House is well high up on the list. We've also got, for the fantasy side of things, The Will of the Many. Again, this has been highly praised by some of my fellow booktubers. Lady Mare from Lady Mare Reads. She's very, very, very constantly trying to get us all to read this book. So I'm really going to hope I love it, because if I don't love it, I'm going to have to hide from her. A Lesson in Vengeance. This one has had mixed reviews, but again, we've got that kind of dark academia, secret rooms, shadowy corridors, that sort of vibe. Babel or Babel, I'm really sorry, I haven't read this yet. I need to read this. I absolutely adore R.F. Kuang. I've heard this is her best work, and I am ready for it. And I've even got my nice silvery version with the gold writing. See, independent bookstore version. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I've heard that this one is good. I also have their second one, which is the main reason for me buying this one, because I've been told that the first one was better. So yep, that's also on the list. I'm trying to whiz through these a bit quickly because yeah, they've all got similar feelings to them. Wild and Wicked Things. I've been told that this is a sapphic dark academia with witches. Say no more. I've met the author, she's absolutely lovely, and yeah, it's definitely sold this one to me. Close your eyes now if you want to watch my unboxing video. if you want to go in blind. You ready? A Dark and Drowning Tide. This one I may take with me when I go on my reading holiday, because it's beautiful and it'll be lovely to read in a beautiful setting. It's getting a bit out of hand here with I don't know where I'm going to put my Autumn TBR. I just need to read them. Right. So we've done horror, we've done kind of collegey, dark academia vibes. What else screams autumn? This is peer pressure, this. What is on everybody's lists at the moment is cozy fantasy. And I like cozy fantasy. I like coziness. Again, we're on that kind of, do I want to have my heart warmed? Yes, but do it in a way that I'm not expecting. Whereas these covers of these books, you're just expecting it to be nice from the off. And it's one of those things where you have to really, in order to make me happy, a book has to really kind of get into my heart, and sometimes it can take a bit of burrowing to get there. But cozy fantasy is something that has been hugely has a huge upswing at the moment. Everybody's reading it, everybody's loving it, and there's just so much of it about, and some of it is so good. So let's have a look what I've got on my cozy stack. Let's get cottagecore. Cottagecore, is that what it's called? I don't know. I'm not down with it. I don't have the lingo. Everybody has read Legends and Lattes. If you haven't read Legends and Lattes, you need to read Legends and Lattes. Bookshops and Bone Dust is the prequel. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition. I can't wait to find out what Viv got up to before she opened her fantastic coffee shop in the city that is definitely not Waterdeep. This one arrived yesterday. The Village Library Demon Hunting Society. Did I buy this because it had a cat on the cover and it's purple? Yes. Also, never mess with a librarian. I'm not a librarian, but I certainly wouldn't mess with one either. TJ Klune has brought out his sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. The House in the Cerulean Sea was an absolute hug in a book, and if you want a book that's nice and non-triggering and sweet and full of love, it's definitely a very, very good choice. And I've been told that there are definite similarities with the second one. TJ Klune said recently on his Instagram, "Welcome home and thank you. I can't wait to find out what happens next." Found family and love and magic. I'm thinking about rereading Nimona just because it was funny and cute and quirky. I've read it already. It's about this young character here who decides that they want to team up with the with the bad guy instead of the good guy, and all the hijinks that ensue. This is the Illumicrate version because it's got the sprayed edge, and I think, you know, I loved this simple little story the first time I read it, and definitely the right time of year to read it again, I think. Again, another cover with that cute kind of witches cozy fantasy vibe going on. I've heard such good things about this as well. It's going to be an easy read, I suspect, and it's got that cover that has, you know, all the cozy vibes. just warms the heart seeing all these lovely covers. I can't remember who recommended this one to me. A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic. Now, I recently read a baking British Bake Off murder mystery book called The Golden Spoon, which was okay. It took far too long for there to be a murder. there just wasn't a lot of action in it, but the actual baking contest was quite fun to read about. And it was a 3-star read. It wasn't spectacular, and someone said that this was a bit like British Bake Off meets, I can't remember what they said it met, but it was basically, it made it sound like that, but with fantasy. So I was just sold. Stick it on the pile. Another book that I'm seeing everywhere at the moment, The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Again, hugely popular, cozy fantasy. I want to jump on the bandwagon. I want to find out what all the fuss is about. And that cover is just delectable. It's just delightful. I love it. And finally, on my cozy fantasy list, we have the Tea Dragon Society, which is the 3 little books, and it's got 2 of my favourite things in the title, tea and dragons. So again, adorable. And finally, I mean, there's a lot of fantasy there. There's a lot of fantasy. There's a lot of magic, other worlds, escapism really. And certainly autumn, I would say, is a time for kind of cozying up indoors with a cup of tea, and that kind of cozy kind of escape from the world vibe is what a lot of people look for, I think, in autumn. The other thing that everyone likes is a good thriller, and I've certainly got a few on my list that I mainly bought because of the covers, because any kind of cover that's got windows, brightness coming through the dark, I'm a sucker for it. It just makes me want, it just feels very wintry. It feels very kind of, you know, colder weather, kind of what's going on inside that cozy little space. It's very almost like liminal space, that kind of being outside of reality in a way. And I just love the aesthetic. I love like nocturne pictures. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I've lost the one that I was going to read first, which is The House in the Middle. I think it's called The House in the Middle of the Night. It's a Riley Sager book. Riley Sager? I'm not sure how you say it, but they are hugely popular thriller writer that I know that I need to explore. And like Ruth Ware, I knew that I'd love Ruth Ware, and The Woman in Cabin 10 was just amazing. You know when you kind of know you're going to like an author before you read them? I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm right about this, but I do like a good thriller writer. The House Across the Lake, that's what it was called. I will ping up a picture here. So yeah, and this one has a very similar cover, Black Lake Manor. So kind of creaky mansions across a lake, probably like kind of closed, locked door mansion murder mystery. Ah, my sort of thing. Would read at any time of year. The autumn is the perfect time for it. 100% sold and sold. I don't know who Guy Morpus is. I've got... I don't know, I just pick up these books based on the covers. I just love the covers. I get sucked in. And this one, I think I might save this until a bit closer to winter, because as you can see from there's a lot of kind of frosty looking trees there, so it might be a little bit more winter than autumn, but similar sort of thing. You just want to be in these cozy rooms. You want to be inside there against the dark. The 31 doors. Same sort of thing. Locked door murder mystery in a house. Big house. Gallows Court, again, same sort of thing, except I reckon this one's going to be more historical. It's set in London 1930, and all of Martin Edwards' this series, they are all kind of named after different halls, mansions, places, and it's the orange, it's the colour scheme, it just makes me think autumn. So yeah, I'm down. I'm excited about this one. This one's less mansiony, more out in the open, and every time I see that on my shelf I misread it. Yeah. But again, it's one that I've seen all over Litsy, it's one I've seen all over book social media, so yeah, let's give this thriller a go. I'm not sure how this got in here, because it's a very different aesthetic when it comes to the cover, but I think I got this in a book subscription, I'm not sure which one, and it might be a Rare Birds one, and I just thought, oh yes, that's going on the pile. We're going to get to that soon. Listen for the Lie. My name is Lucy Chase, but you already know that. Yes, I'm the woman who doesn't remember murdering her best friend. You probably think I did it too, I get it. Being found covered in her blood doesn't exactly scream innocent. You know, yeah. Premise, sold. What have I missed? What do you think of my TBR? Is it full of delights? Am I going for the right mood? Am I going for the right vibes here? Do you reckon I'm going to have a good reading autumn? What's on your TBR this autumn? Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be really excited to hear from you. And yeah, I probably won't get through even a fifth of these, but those are kind of the selection. That's kind of what's on my shelves this autumn and what I'm hoping to pick from in the coming months. I'm hoping to do a September wrap-up video quite soon, in about a week's time. I have already read a few books this month, but I'm really hoping to go for it in the next couple of months. It's going to be a readathon. Not an official readathon, just a semi kind of... Join me, it's going to be great. Anyway, catch you all later. It's been lovely to spend some time with you. Bye.